Ladies and gentlemen, live from Kelvin University, it's The Tonight Show!
Hello and welcome to The Tonight Show. My name is Sam Tuitt. This week we have a conversation with Paula Manni-Poehler from the art department and a musical performance from Calvin students Grace Lunger and Adelyn Roush. But first, the news. Here on campus, this year the traditional cold night plunge became the cold night splash, as Res Life chose not to have students jump into the thawed Sem pond, as all the bacteria which normally die in the winter are back at it again. Although, legend has it that President Leroy uses the same bacteria as conditioner for his iconic beard. Off campus, Taylor Swift has been starring in a series of commercials showing how easy it is to bank with Capital One.
Banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like...
It's looking kind of chilly out today. What am I gonna wear? I think I'll go with a cardigan.
Yep, even easier than that.
We actually disagree with this commercial and think the easiest decision in the history of decisions is re-releasing an album you wrote 10 years ago. Believe it or not, it might actually even be a better financial decision than banking with Capital One. This weekend, an Ann Arbor man robbed a gas station at gunpoint and only took a tank of gasoline. He was arrested and charged with first-degree American foreign policy. Finally, speaking of American politics, President Joseph Make America Choo-Choo Again Biden recently proposed a nationwide train system, so yeah, it's officially white guy summer. That's all the news we felt qualified to comment on. We go now to a conversation with Paula Manni-Poehler. Welcome back. I'm here with Paula Manni-Poehler, who is Arts Programming Coordinator here at Calvin in the Art Department. Mm-hmm. You also graduated from Calvin, right?
I did, yeah.
Was that 2017?
2013.
2013.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 2013 grad.
Did you immediately start working at Calvin after you graduated?
Good question.
Or what was that like?
So I studied art history here at Calvin, and I minored in biology and archaeology.
Oh,
and yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure where that path would take me, but I knew that I wanted to do some work with museums. I'd spent a summer in Italy doing an archaeology dig and learning about Etruscan archaeology overseas. So that was one area that I was kind of interested to explore. I have like a lifelong fascination with like pioneer times. So I was thinking maybe I'll do like a living history type of job. There's a museum, I'm from the east side of the state. There's a museum on the east side of the state that has a lot of like 1850s, 60s, early 1900s living history reenactment type demos. So that was one area that I wanted to explore. I wasn't really thinking arts and higher ed. And I was also thinking about exploring working in an art museum. So after graduation, I moved back to the east side of the state and interned at the Detroit Institute of Arts for about 2 years or so. Really enjoyed that experience, but it felt like a lot of research, so which I'm not opposed to, but I was realizing that I was really missing that like tactile approach to exploring.
Yeah. And if you were like wanting to do living history research all the time, is you don't get that active.
Yeah, it just felt like I was continually writing a research paper. It was like, I don't know, it was something that I enjoyed, but I didn't necessarily see myself doing for the rest of my life. So then I did become an 1860s farm woman for a year.
Cool.
And worked at Greenfield Village, and that was a huge switch. So a lot of like tactile, in-person, hands-on work. Really enjoyed it. But it was also a really like physically draining job. Living in the 1860s was hard. Like I'm glad I wasn't born in the 1860s. Learned a lot. And then that was about 2015-ish. I was really missing my friends who graduated from Calvin also, and a lot of them settled in Grand Rapids. So a position opened up at Calvin for the 106 Gallery. Calvin used to rent a gallery space in downtown Grand Rapids.
Cool.
Yeah, so I
didn't know
applied.
that.
Yeah. We had the space through, I want to say, early 2017. So I worked there as a gallery coordinator for about 2 years. So I was employed by Calvin, but my workplace was downtown. And then when Calvin decided to transition that work back to campus, I then moved back to campus. So that was just a couple years ago, and that's when I kind of started working more with the Center Art Gallery here at Calvin, and then working with the Artist Collaborative program. So been here for about 3-4 years.
So what sort of work do you do with the Artist Collaborative? Do you focus with like applications and admissions through that, or what sort of events do you do with the students who are here on campus? I know there isn't like there's not an Artist Collaborative floor on Van Rieken as there is for like the honors cohort or other kind of groups. So the Artist Collaborative, it's kind of driven by 2 different departments at Calvin: admissions, like you mentioned, and then the art department. Artist Collaborative is a program for first and second year students at Calvin. You enter as a first year student, but we're looking at students who are interested in the arts broadly, so visual art, performing art, music, dance, theater, written art, so literature, poetry. And so I have been involved in the application process all the way through the actual like programming and events that belong to the Artist Collaborative. So what that looks like is in early spring, we interview high school seniors who are interested in the program. And so we just had a big virtual interview weekend a couple weeks ago and interviewed students who are interested to join the program. And then those students come to Calvin in the fall. The program for freshmen is about 20, it's for about 25 students. And those Artist Collaborative students are in the same orientation group together. They generally have an orientation leader who also was a member of the Artist Collaborative when they were a freshman or sophomore. And then the cohort takes arts-based classes together their first year, so each semester of their first year. And then during the May term of their sophomore year, they travel together to an off-campus destination. So in the past, that's been to Indonesia and Northern Ireland. And we weren't able to travel this year because of COVID. So we'll be taking 2 cohorts next year. So we'll be going with juniors and sophomore Artist Collaboratives next year. And we're traveling to Liverpool, so to the UK. Cool. So I've been involved as a first-year seminar instructor. I also plan studio nights for Artist Collaborative students. When events were a little bit more possible, we would have off-campus field trips to the art museum downtown. We would put together exhibition nights at the Center Art Gallery here. So the Artist Collaborative kind of just creates this place and space for students to kind of bump shoulders, explore each other's creative disciplines, and then create together. So we're learning about the arts, but then we're also giving time to create in a more collaborative sense. So we do that here on campus, but then also the Artist Collaborative experience kind of culminates with this off-campus trip where we spend about 2 weeks learning about a different place that we're not familiar with, and then kind of synthesizing our responses in an artistic way. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So what sorts of kind of response projects have students done in the past to the experiences on those trips?
Yeah, good question. So we've had groups compose a music piece and then pair a visual representation or interpretation of that music piece and then present that to a larger audience.
Is it like, one group response, or is everyone doing like individual
Ooh,
things?
yeah. So the way that we've done it in the past, and this could shift and change depending on where the program goes in the future, we break up into create groups of about 4 to 5 students.
Okay.
And each group generally is made up of students who are interested in a variety of art forms. So one group may be made up of a visual artist, of a poet, of a music composition major, and maybe a theater person.
Thespian.
Oh, what? A thespian.
Thespian.
Thank you.
Yes,
a
of
thespian.
course.
Yes. So yeah, it's a challenge at first, I think, to kind of come together and find a way to express your thoughts in a cohesive manner. But it's also it's a creative challenge that like kind of pushes us beyond maybe our comfort zone, and the artwork that has been made out of these collaborative trips has been I hope life-changing for these students. Just the process itself, and then of course the creative output is very impressive too. So we've shared that creative output with audiences abroad, but then in recent years that we've shipped the artwork back here to Calvin, and then had a creative presentation here on campus. So actually, at the end of April, we'll be putting up last year's cohort's work outside of the Center Art Gallery and having a little celebration.
Cool.
that'll celebrate the collaborative's work, and then also just a mini exhibition to mark the good work that they did last January.
It kind of reminds me of the final projects that the engineering students have to do, where they bring together students from different disciplines. So they might have like chemical engineers or electrical engineers and civil engineers all working together in one group.
Yeah.
But like with arts instead
Exactly.
of engineering.
Yeah, and I think a really neat part of the program is that these students get to know each other really well through their first year together.
Right.
And then that's a lot of like classroom time. It is like fun event time outside of the class, but the hands-on experiential stuff happens a year later when you know your cohort well, and you also kind of get to apply what you've gleaned over your last 2 years. So it's an exciting program to be part of. Honestly, it's been really inspiring for me. I think my favorite part of being here at Calvin is like learning from the students who are part of the Artist Collaborative program.
You graduated in 2013, so the Artist Collaborative wasn't a thing then, or was that?
I think.
Were you a member of the Artist
I
Collaborative?
wasn't.
Okay.
No, I think the Artist Collab maybe started 3 years after I graduated. Yeah, so it's a bit of a newer program to Calvin. Yeah, but then like you mentioned, there's other cohort models that have kind of followed suit. So the Artist Collaborative program was the first cohort program. You mentioned the honors cohort. There's the Perkins Fellows, the Ministry Leadership Fellows. So really neat ways to explore student interests at Calvin in a more purposeful way.
And it's a good way of like, with those like people just coming in, kind of providing people that they are around constantly, so they can form friendships at the beginning. I know, like, I didn't really have that except through my floor because everyone on my floor was hanging out a whole bunch. But it's like another kind of group for people to hang out with.
Exactly.
We are with the Student Activities Office here, which means we like to talk about pop culture a bit. So what sort of stuff have you been engaging with in this year of, not having much to do? What have you been watching? What have you been listening to or reading?
Let's see. So I like to build monthly playlists on Spotify. But what I've realized that I actually do is that I like go back to my previous playlists and pick songs from previous playlists and then dump them onto my like March 2021 playlist. Or I guess it's April now, so I need to start a new playlist. So recently I've been listening to like late 90s, early 2000s folk music.
Okay.
Bela Fleck and the Flecktones I've really enjoyed. And then the Wailing Jennies. So like, I don't know, folksy. Like easy to listen to. Kind of, like fun, a little bit of like Celtic vibe type music.
Yeah.
I really love the podcast On Being with Krista Tippett. Like she's one of my like biggest role models. I would love to be like Krista. So On Being puts out a new podcast every Thursday.
Okay.
And I just listened to one a couple weeks ago where Krista interviewed Ocean Vuong, who's a Vietnamese poet, and his work is beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been enjoying that.
On Being is a podcast kind of about like faith and art.
Yeah.
Right? Like an NPR. I grew up listening to NPR, so I like kind of know that one.
She started her podcast, I don't know, maybe in the mid-90s, and it used to be called Speaking of Faith, but then kind of rebranded, I think probably like 2000 something.
Yeah.
And so now, she talks to thought leaders who are interested in spirituality, but not necessarily a like prescribed version of spirituality. And she engages with artists and philosophers and neuroscientists and folks from all different walks of life.
Oh, cool.
And just has like a really lovely, intentional conversation with these folks. So it's nice to listen to. I love to go on walks and listen to Krista. So that's been a good thing to listen to this quarantine period.
Yeah.
What else? My husband and I are hoping to turn our backyard into like a mini farm. We live out in Allendale.
Okay.
So we have space for chickens. So I've been reading a lot about chickens. I guess, could that be considered media? Like Wikipedia pages on chickens?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
someone wrote it. How is
what
that influencing how you see the world?
So
you don't have to answer that. It was a joke. But if you have a serious answer for that.
Honestly, it might be affecting my music choices. Truly,
Really?
like I think I'm leaning more towards folksy music
because
of the chickens. That's like maybe too much of a like basic one-to-one comparison.
Yeah.
But maybe. Yeah.
Could be. I don't know.
What else have I been reading? Yeah, we're also hoping to like expand our garden space. So I've been reading a lot about like making a garden that is like friendly with the critters that already live in your yard. So learning a lot about that. And then we just started reading White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. We're not very far in, but it's been a lot to like think through and chew through and process. So that feels like a good like pushing and growing type of book to read.
Those sound like some good answers. Paula, thank you for joining me here.
Thanks for having me.
This has been fun.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
Where do you work?
Where's
your office?
Oh, where's my office? I have a couple office spaces. So I have a cubicle in the music department, CFAC. I sometimes work out of Brent Williams' office space in the Center Art Gallery. And then I also have an adjunct office space in the art department. So that's the basement of the Spoolhoff Center.
Nice. Go visit Paula sometime.
Yeah.
She's cool.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. We'll be back in a second, but first this.
If I were born to be a river, if a river is all I'd be, I'd tell the giver of all of the rivers to make me the Tennessee. How many drops of rain roll off of how many window panes down to a valley low where a river like me begins to grow. I sing a mournful song as I rush and ramble along. Oh-de, 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 oh. I bury secrets deep, I keep them down where the catfish creep, where the rolling tides can reach the things that I hide. I hum a mournful tune in the Alabama June. Oh-de, 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 oh. And I say, oh-dee-dee-dee-dee, oh-do-do-do-do, oh-oh-oh-oh, even the Tennessee River runs low. When the sky is bright and clear, not a cloud above you, you can float in knowing, dear, that I storm is raging, all the light is fading. The river sings along with me, reaching for that minor key. Color me blue and gray, river carry me fast away. Flood all the rocks and rills, humble the mighty hill. I am the Tennessee, see you down at the stormy sea. Oh-de-oh-de-oh-de-oh-de-oh-de-oh-de-oh. And I say, oh-dee-dee-dee-dee, oh-do-do-do-do, oh-oh-oh-oh. Even the Tennessee River runs low, the Tennessee River runs low. Even the Tennessee River runs low.
That's our show this week. Thanks again to Grace and Adelyn and Paula for all coming by and sharing with us. This weekend, this Friday actually, I guess Friday is the weekend, but this Friday, Major Murphy will have a live streamed concert from the recital hall. So even if you're in quarantine, you have no excuse to not get your tickets for that. We will be back next week with some other folks, probably. I've sent out some emails, got some stuff in the works.